In the heart of modern-day Seattle, the spirit of Christmas is alive. But for one man, it's buried beneath skyscrapers and greed. From the classic tale by Charles Dickens, this holiday season, witness the reimagining of a timeless classic as Ebenezer Scrooge trades his cobblestone streets for city lights and bustling markets. But in a city better known for its tech billionaires and coffee culture, three ghosts will awaken his soul and change his world forever. A Christmas Carol, a tale of second chances.
Welcome to the Downing Cut. Today I'd like to welcome our guest, Tobias Yuodelis. He is an actor who's been acting for 5 years. He recently just landed a lead role in Rose Kreider's Christmas Carol, and we're going to dive into that. But welcome to the Downing Cut. Tobias, how are you?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. I think
Thank you.
we're just now starting to dive into actors and their journey and everything. So I always like to start off is, how did you get into acting? How did your journey start?
Hmm. Well, I think my start, what really, like the first stepping stone that I made, like truly, was in high school. It was actually my senior year of high school, and I was like, man, I'm tired of like taking all these boring classes. I want to do like creative stuff. So I decided to audition for Beauty and the Beast. Um, and I got the role of Monsieur Dark. If anybody, it's like a main character, but the main character that not a lot of people know, but still a main character. But that's the one I did. It was a lot of fun. It was singing, acting, all that kind of stuff. Now that really made me like, hey, I love this stuff. Always have when I was a little kid, but like now, I know for sure I like this stuff.
Well, let me ask you this. So you didn't take any acting classes? You just auditioned?
Yeah, I just like let me just do my version of acting
You're like
and
a
see
natural
if they
born
like it.
killer right there. He's like, I'm in. What do I need to
Yeah,
do? Memorize lines? Okay, I'll do that.
yeah.
And
Back
did you
then,
sing?
yeah, I did sing. I did sing.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, thing is, like, I've always been around like creative people, so it wasn't such a like a daring thing exactly because I've always
Yeah,
been around people who were creative, who'd make little films. I made little films when I was a kid, and I was just around a lot of that, growing up. So it was pretty natural when I stepped in, just like, did what I thought I was supposed
yeah,
to do. Funny, back in the day, it was easier for me to act when I was doing an accent versus without an accent. Because I think when you have, or at least at that time when there was an accent, there was sort of like somebody you were trying to mimic, or at least in your head.
sure.
And for some reason that was easier. But it's funny, the the more you get into acting and you start to learn about it, the harder it is to do accents, I feel. So it's something that you kind of have to discover later, I think.
Do you think it's is it because there's so much going in your mind to really kind of break down, or why would you say it's harder? Is it because of the flow, or is
I
it
think
because of the structure?
I think if we want to get like technical here,
Let's get
uh,
technical.
yeah, I think it's because I think it's because, or at least how I've been trained, and how a lot of modern actors have been trained, they learn to get out of their heads and try to get into the the um the circumstances of the moment.
Sure.
And when you do that, you start to just sort of act naturally, and so you're going to use your natural voice more, and it can be a little bit harder to add a layer of accent on top of that,
Yep,
if
I
that
can.
makes any sense.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
A lot of times in the film, some of the films I've done an Asian accent, and you
Oh,
try to, just to stereotype the whole Asian thing, and I try to to mimic what that person would say at the time, but at the same time, and there's times where I've lost it. I've lost the
Yeah.
accent because I'm coming out of it. I'm being myself. Um, but that's a good point. So, what would you say makes a good actor?
One, it's like charisma, just being able to be like uniquely themselves and not try to like
Yeah,
do what everybody else is doing. I would say that's what I think of as a good actor, like first and foremost. Like there's some that may be more nat or more realistic than others, but I think what most people like is they want like a good performance that's memorable, not one that's like when I say charismatic, I don't mean like completely out of flow of what the movie needs, but like something that's really memorable and making unique choices and stuff. And then two would probably be the realism. Um, but yeah, just like making unique choices, I would say.
okay.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
when you go back and you think about, like you said, you were in school, classes were boring, you want to do something exciting, you try acting. What was that initial spark that said, "Hey, I can act. Hey, I'm going to go for it." What was it, that one thing that just led you? I know you said as a kid you would act and make films and stuff, but what was that one thing that led you to that push you over the edge to also add to your passion and
yeah.
then evolve into that?
Mm, I think I think just getting lost in the character and the situation of acting. I don't know. It was kind of like almost like escapism in a weird way. It
Sure.
was like you're in a different world now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool to be in there, especially when you're like a kid, like, in school and like doing a bunch of boring stuff, you know? It's cool
Yeah.
to be like, "Oh wow, I'm in
Yeah.
make-believe land." Yeah. I
Well,
think
you
that
get
was
that.
probably the spark.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think it's a lot of people when we get on set and you're in the project and you're knee deep, which is a lot of reason why a lot of people do plays too, is because you just get so immersed into that
Yeah.
world and you get that adrenaline rush, right? And
Yeah.
then when the show's over, when the production is done, you're just kind of like, back to this.
True.
All
Yeah.
right, right? So, what are your have you done workshops or any kind of acting classes or anything like that, or you
Yeah.
have?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the methods that have deepening your understanding and acting and refining your craft over the years?
Definitely Meisner. I've done some workshops with like method acting, and those were pretty interesting. I won't
Tell me.
necessarily say one's better than the other, but I definitely started with Meisner. I think Meisner's a good place to start because that's when you really, you know, um, that's how like the realism comes. I feel when you start to believe in the circumstances that you're in and sort of just like lose yourself in it. And you make choices that aren't you thinking about them. They're just things that you just naturally do. I would say, you did a scene well when after they say cut, you literally do not remember a single thing you did during that scene.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was in acting class and we did this scene and they said, okay, end scene. And then they're saying like you kicked like the chair with your foot in anger. I'm like, I do not remember doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so but yeah, that's sort of what I think. Those are the little things that are you kind of hope for when you're learning how to act. And I did classes at Freehold Theater in Seattle, and those are some really good acting classes. They really teach you proper technique, or always Meisner technique. And
Yeah.
I've also done a little bit of method, although I'm still a little bit new to method. I took one at oh gosh, what's it called? It's the it's the Al Pacino one. I'm blanking here. It's an, anyways, I'll
That's right.
remember it hopefully later. Um,
What is your
but
feelings on Method?
huh?
What are your feelings on Method?
Oh, I don't really have a lot of bad to say about it necessarily. I know a lot of people do have a lot of bad to say about it. For me, it was sort of really interesting because I felt like after I started learning method, I was able to cry on camera, which
Yeah,
it was like I think because there's something about method that makes it more personal and allows you to like bring back certain sensations or and memories that uh don't really get brought up as much in Meisner, because Meisner is all about like um believing in the circumstances of the moment.
mm,
um but Meisner, sorry, method makes it more personal. um Even though we didn't really talk about like, oh, like bringing up like stuff from your past as technique, I think maybe it just does that subconsciously. um
sure.
but we did a lot of like feeling, and like they asked me for one of my exercises to take a shower with my clothes on,
Hmm.
and that was really cool. It's funny when you take a shower with your clothes on, you feel more naked than you do with your clothes off. It's like this feels so like like I'm breaking rules here. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, that was a cool experience. I think if I learn more about method, I'll have more to say about it. But I will say that
Yeah.
before I started learning some method, I wasn't really able to like cry on camera all that much. And all of a sudden when I started learning method, I was like able to do it.
And it was because it just connected you with your personal thoughts and feelings of the past and things that affected you.
A little. Um I remember that I would kind of use those techniques. Like, I don't know. I don't really know, because I don't know. I think it just connected me more to my like emotions or something, in some weird
Yeah.
subconscious way. Yeah.
It sounds like it's kind of another way of freeing yourself too, right? Of being less structured and just like Meisner, being in the moment, being lost in the
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, you're a lead in The Christmas Carol by Rose Kreider. As someone relatively new to leading in a film, how do you navigate the pressures of carrying a story while still
Hmm.
finding your own voice within the character?
Well, I think really I don't necessarily approach it any differently than I have for any other role. I'd say the only difference is like there's longer days, or more shoot days because you're the lead,
Yeah,
so you get put on camera more. I kind of did approach it like a lot of my other roles, in which I do some preparation. I like to I like to know my character, before I play it. Um, I don't know if that's a little bit method, but I will try to like almost live like my character a little bit before I play the character.
sure.
Um, and yeah, there's definitely things that I did in preparation for this role. If you'd like me to talk about those.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, um, one of my jobs that I do outside of acting is I work with elderly. Um, and I'm basically a CNA, and I take care of elderly people. And I kind of like tried to just observe them a lot more, like leading up to filming. So I picked like about two residents, and it kind of like merged them together, and
Yeah.
just like seeing how they react, and how they get mad and stuff, which obviously is like they're just they're just people that are older than you or me, but I kind of just I don't know, I use them for reference, and yeah, it was kind of cool doing that and preparing for it.
Did you ever like? Was it all based on memory of what you thought of when you saw them in situations, or did you actually write stuff down, or how did you like keep that info?
I think a lot of it I didn't really write things down, but I paid kind of attention to how they walked, how they responded to situations physically,
Yeah,
and I tried to kind of mimic that, because you kind of do have to mimic that, since I'm not like, I don't exactly know what it's like to um be having a little bit of a hunch, and maybe can't walk as well, and
sort
so
arthritis
yeah,
and hips and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I definitely was like imagining that my legs didn't work as well as they used to, and yeah, especially walking with a cane. But yeah, that's a lot of it was physical, I would say.
sure. Now, Rose, from some of the pictures that we've seen, you had a prosthetic nose. How did that?
Yeah, how did that feel?
Yeah.
Well, I will say this: I prayed that I would not have like a nosebleed on set, because that would be a mess to clean up.
Did you guys
I
just have one nose, or did you have any spares?
we we used two noses.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
good.
we had one for most of this, for pretty much all the scenes. We just stuck with one, and then basically halfway through shooting we got a new nose, because like the old one was like had days and days worth of makeup and latex caked on there. They're like, let's throw this one away. I still have the second nose with me.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Was
kept it
it?
as a souvenir.
Did it help you? Did it help you get into character when you looked at yourself in the mirror, or was it? Did it feel like? Was it heavy on your face? Did it interfere with anything as far as acting goes?
It didn't really interfere with anything. I was still able to breathe through it pretty well. Um, yeah, it was interesting seeing how people treated me with the nose and without. It's surprisingly on set there wasn't that much of a difference. But I remember when we started filming in public,
Hmm.
I got a lot of looks. I got a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
looks. Yeah.
I bet.
And I just would
Can you,
not break character. You just like
you
I
stay,
was just
yeah.
being an old guy. I was just being an old guy throughout the
There's your
whole
method
show.
right there.
Yeah.
Can you share an experience where you deeply connected with a character that you played and how it affected you personally?
Hmm. Gosh, I would say the character and me are pretty different, but hmm. Well, okay, I will say, because at the end of the Christmas Carol, Scrooge definitely kind of opens his heart out to people. I think I connected that because there was times in my life where I've kind of like closed myself off to people and stuff like that, and then learning how to kind of like forgive, and also just like um be less selfish, at times in my life, and like open myself up and try to be there for people, things like that. I definitely connected to. um so yeah, there was a little bit of that there, I would say. I could use for my
Okay.
scenes. Yeah, but yeah, I would say I would definitely kind of do that. Yeah. Now that I think about it,
How
I,
about any other character other than Scrooge? I mean, Scrooge is pretty. It's
Yeah.
pretty of a, he's not a very nice guy.
Other characters. Well, there was could I it's for another film. I
Yeah.
wasn't I was in a lead in, but I was one of the, I guess, main characters, you could say.
Hmm.
Um am I allowed to say it? I hope I'm allowed to say it. It's
This
for a
is,
film called
you got plenty of time.
I'll
This is
just
going to go
say
out in 2 months. So,
yeah. Let's just say it was based off of the book Dante's Inferno, but
yeah.
it was sort of like a modern take on that. And I played sort of like a party guy, and I wouldn't say I'm like a huge party guy, but I can get pretty, like, free at moments. So I kind of just let my inner kind of uh like I lowered my inhibitions for that role, let's just say,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say I did that leading up to the film. you know I started like hanging out with friends more, and, like, just being a little more adventurous. But I tend to hang out with pretty adventurous friends, like, anyways. So I kind of just uh led you know led into there a little bit. Yeah.
Would you say that was part of your research then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what has been your most challenging role to date? And then what did you learn from that experience?
I think in terms of character, or in terms of acting, probably this one, because I
Scrooge.
was playing like an older character. Um yeah, and just, I guess, the makeup wasn't that bad, but it definitely was different from like a lot of the other roles I've done, because I've played mostly younger characters up until that point, except for the time I did Beauty and the Beast. um but that was, you know I definitely did a lot more preparation for this one than that one, because back then I was just kind of doing acting for fun. This time it was a lot more. It wasn't like such a kids production. This was like more serious, and I definitely, there were some emotional moments in there which I really wanted to nail and be authentic with.
Mhm.
I will say, whenever I'm doing a scene, I really want to make it as authentic and natural as possible, and to really just like um go with instinct, and not so much with like a rehearsed like idea of what I want. I really try to avoid that as much as possible, because I feel like that really like ruins the acting.
Yeah.
When you have like a specific, like, what tone, like, you know the pitch of voice that you're gonna use, and like
Yeah.
how you say it and tone and stuff like that. I try to just like go with instinct and like believe the circumstances, and I hope it shows in this film, because I really
Yeah.
did try to do that. Yeah.
How did you land the role? Did you audition for it, or were you sought out for it? How did that work?
Well, I worked with Rose on a 48-hour um film project. This was like this was kind of a while ago. This was almost it was like 1 or 2 years ago, and we recently reconnected. I guess she liked how I acted in that film, and she wanted to reconnect with me. And she did have an idea for another film before this one, but I kind of fell through. But she really wanted me to be in her film, her next film. So we talked about this film, and yeah, she hired me for the role, and that was really great. And I'm really happy for that. And
Did they? it's interesting because you said you normally don't go for old roles, but
Yeah.
this particular role, she was like, "Hey, do you want to be Ebenezer Scrooge?" And you're like, "Yeah." What did
Yeah.
they have to? How did they age you? Did they age you at all, or was it just a different type of look?
They aged me a bit. I think they didn't go with necessarily a like my hair was kind of the same. So, but he's also a tech billionaire. So, if you imagine a tech billionaire would have no problem dyeing their hair.
Yeah,
So, I was probably yeah, I was sort of like an old tech billionaire who is running low on time and probably has gotten some work done at some point. But I'll tell you this, I definitely do not look like I'm in my mid or in my early 20s in this film. So
okay.
that's that
You
you
look,
could definitely see that
you're like mid
I don't look
30s.
like him. Yeah, no, definitely older than that. I think the nose and sort of the aging, they sort of like aged me a bit with makeup.
Nice.
Yeah,
Add some wrinkles here and there.
yeah.
What? How do you handle criticism and feedback on your performances?
Um, I I'm very open to criticism and feedback because I'm always trying to improve. I feel like it's like surprisingly the one area I'm not like as sensitive. Like I don't take it personally,
Yeah.
or not really, at least most of the time. I'm just constantly looking for things to improve on, and any feedback I get, I'm like all ears for, and I want to improve.
Awesome.
Yeah. I try to
I,
I try to take incorporate whatever feedback I get if it seems like good feedback and criticism that's fruitful and stuff. Yeah.
if it seems like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like,
I mean, like everybody has their opinion, but but I'd say most of the feedback I've gotten has been like helpful feedback, you know.
yeah. What? Let me ask you this. I know I'm kind of going back a little bit because you had mentioned something about rehearsal and knowing when you're in theater, you do a lot of rehearsing. But when you're in film, is that something that you enjoy doing, or do you try to avoid it altogether when you're doing film?
um I think rehearsal is always positive. um I will say it's always better when you have like a really strong partner to work with, who kind of is a really good actor or actress. You know, I don't um I think, but I would say honestly, feedback or sorry, rehearsals even more important um with like newer actors than like very established actors, because you kind of need that extra time to kind of like feel it through and kind of process it, and work your lines out till they're natural. um but yeah, I there um was one actor that I worked with on this film. I was very, very, very seasoned. I could tell. Like we did the whole scene in like one or two takes, and I was like blown away. Like they were so good. And I didn't do so much rehearsing with them because they were just so good, and they kind of just like stole the scene, I would say. But yeah,
What was
I
it? What was it that showed you that they were seasoned?
oh, they had charisma,
Hmm.
and there was realism. you know they're very natural. It felt freaking real. And
Yeah.
I was terrified because it was a very scary scene, and I love doing that scene because I just felt it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Which helps, right? I mean, it raises your level as well. I think I've experienced that working with Philip Wheeler. We've done two films together, and I think when you're with an actor who knows what they're doing, all it does is it raises the bar for you
Oh
because
yeah.
you can just go right off of them, and they can go right off of you, and it just keeps on going, and you can feel it, and you're like, oh, this is working pretty well. You
Hmm.
know, it's that
Yeah.
it's that, what did you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? I can't. It's on the
Like
top.
a rising tide, like
It's
raises
like
all
a
boats.
yeah. I mean, pretty much. I mean, it's kind of like that. It's like charisma, right? You have that relationship, that rapport with the person, and it really kind of takes off into the scene, which kind of, in most cases, it can develop into something different than what the
Hmm.
director's seen. You know, I had that with two actors. I directed a film, Cousin, and we had that, and it literally two takes. The first take was blown because of a mistake, probably something I did, and then the second
Hmm.
take, it was just, it clicked. Everything just worked, and that was it. So I totally understand what you're saying, and that's really good for that key thing for people to understand. You know, the differences. It's not just memorizing your lines; it's actually
Yeah.
you're coming as the character. How do you maintain authenticity and avoid falling into repetitive patterns in your acting?
Um. Hmm. I would say. I think I'm kind of. I would say I don't usually fall into like repetitiveness, but I guess when if they do the scene over and over again, sometimes it's definitely easier to fall into repetitiveness. I would say just I really try to keep my body loose, and there is one thing I like to do. I like to kind of notice something like in the scene, whether it's something on me, like when I was holding the cane, I would notice the cane and kind of touch it and just like examine it, be like, this is real. The what I'm wearing, this jacket is real. You know, the character or the other person here is real, and even like the block that they would use, like, you know, the clapper is real. And
Slate?
I'm like,
Yeah,
what is this clapper in front of me doing, you know? I would do things like that to just like be like, everything in front of me except the camera is real. You know, that's what I would do. I would always try to ground myself, so to avoid being repetitive, because I think when you do that, and you like, you are grounded, if you happen to be competitive, or sorry, repetitive, then it was just like being natural, you know. But usually it's very not repetitive. um that's what I do.
that's a good word for it. Grounding. When you ground yourself and just
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
aware of everything. But you said competitive, so it sparked another question at me. How do you feel? Do you feel like this industry is competitive? Do you feel like if you're going for a role or other people are auditioning for a role, how do you maneuver the competition amongst other actors?
Mm. Well, yeah, it always is competitive. um I don't know if it's necessarily, I think it's good be a little bit competitive, but also to not, to realize this sort of is a very, like, it's a kind of a solo sport, you know. um there's not really teams in this. Like, um just, I think just knowing yourself and being authentic is really the most important thing, because if you're too competitive, then you think of ways like, how can I be better than other people, rather than how can I be like the most authentic actor I can be, you know. And then you start trying to like mimic people who you think are better than you and stuff like that, which I think is the last thing you should be doing as an actor, because the more people are trying to mimic one another, the more everything just seems monotonous, and that's the last thing this industry needs. We need new stuff. We need authenticity. We need fresh ideas. We need fresh talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's like shifting your perception from outward, looking at everyone else, to kind of just turning it inward, right? How can I build myself up? How can I improve my skills? How do I be more of myself versus copying or mimicking someone else's way they walk, the way they talk,
Hmm.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to aspiring actors about navigating the highs and lows of the industry?
Mm. I would say try to have as much fun as possible doing it. You know, whether you're just you're churning out an audition, just remember to have fun, because you know obviously you have one life. You want to be enjoying it while you're here. So and especially because like auditions can get really monotonous. Like, oh, I have to do like all these auditions this week, and then sometimes there's no auditions. They're like, okay, well, I guess there's not much to do right now. You want to just enjoy it as much as possible, you know, and not view it as a chore. Just focus on enjoying it, you know.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
would you say when you're in that period, that slow period where you don't have auditions? What advice would you give to other actors? What do you do then?
Um, if you want to be really try hard, you can always like go searching for audition, or sorry, well, yeah, searching for auditions on like Backstage and Actors Access and stuff like that. That's if you have an agent and you already receive like auditions and stuff. You can write your own material, which I'd say is can be really good for your acting, because you get to have more control, and it almost like, because you wrote the script, you're more likely to understand the character, and potentially give a better performance, you know so yeah, like start writing. that
Yeah.
that's that you can't hurt by doing that.
How do you see the craft of acting evolving with advancements in technology and changes in
Ooh.
the entertainment industry?
um well, it's really hard to say, because there is a lot of scary technology coming out. Scary as in they
AI?
make the future. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you said it. I've
That's
seen I've seen VFX breakdowns of like AI being. I mean, I think it was AI being used to like change the performance of an actor. And it's like, oh my
interesting.
god, oh no, like what do we do now? Um,
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Gosh, I don't know what to feel. I mean, I know what to feel. That's scared, but I don't know what to say about it necessarily, because um yeah, I will say that it's definitely not taking over the industry right now, and at the same time, with how AI works right now, it sort of just copies off of what people have already done. So in that sense, humans still kind of have the edge, because we're constantly like, creating new stuff, and that's
Mm,
not what AI can do yet. You know, they can only kind of copy what's already been done.
yeah.
So right now, creativity is just as powerful as it's ever been, like true creativity. And yeah, I think just trying to shake things up as much as possible and try new things is what we should do. In terms of actors, I think um try to do as many weird projects as you possibly can, and have as much fun, you know and to challenge yourself in as many ways. That's why I did this role, because I wanted to challenge myself as well. You know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it sounds like I mean, I think the challenge kind of shows itself as the fact that you're not an old guy. You know,
Yeah.
you don't use a cane, right? So that's it's that part of
Yeah.
going into that realm. Um, for new actors, do you believe that acting classes are required? Yes or no, and why?
For new actors, um, are they required? I mean, I don't think anything's like, it's not black and white. Like, nothing's required, but I will say, unless you are like such an amazing actor already, that you're already giving like mind-blowing performances and stuff, you should probably go to acting classes, you know? Um, yeah, I mean, most of the best actors there are gone to acting classes. I don't actually know of a lot of like amazing actors that have never gone to an acting class, you know? Um, yeah, I think acting classes are definitely, they'd never hurt, you know? They never hurt.
Yeah,
It's not that, it's not necessarily something that's gonna ruin your creative uh I don't know, creativity in the craft. If anything,
hmm
it'll help you in your craft, allow you to tap into more creativity. You know, I think that's what acting classes should do. They should be able to free you and give more to your arsenal and allow you to do more things rather than, you know, put you in a box or something like that, you know?
yeah, yeah. Lower your inhibitions, right? Be able to kind
Yeah.
of expand yourself and not worry about what other people think. Go to the places where you need to
Yes.
go. Yeah,
Yes. I'm always trying to do that as an actor. Yeah.
yeah. What's next? What do you have? That's anything you're working on right now or in the near
Mm.
future, other than Christmas Carol?
I'm really excited for the projects that I've done to come out. This one, I have like two films that are going to be coming out pretty soon, in like 2025. In terms of other projects,
What are
I'm
those two
just
films? Come on, give it a
Inferno,
pitch. Inferno.
Inferno, um, Inferno, and it's actually the last of the series. There's a whole series of
Oh,
films, and it's the last one. It's by, I don't know how much I can give, so
is
I
there
hope
is
I want
there
to say it.
is
Yeah.
there some of the episodes have already been released, or is there
Hmm.
like a teaser? Send me the
Yeah.
link, and I'll link it in the show notes so that people can
Okay.
see it. Yeah,
Okay. I'll make sure to do that.
yeah,
So the last episode of Inferno, I'm really excited for, because it's like, it's a weird one, you know,
yeah,
which I like weird stuff like A24 movies, David Lynch, things like that. I like,
yeah.
and then the Christmas Carol. Um, I really hope, because there's some good talent in there, and I hope my performances really shows in this one. I'm really excited about that.
When's
Yeah.
that due? When's that due out?
Um. Before Christmas, so probably November, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's coming
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Tell me about your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel is, I've had it for a long time. I've kind of just like been off and on about it. But the last thing I posted on there was a little short film that I made. I was just going through a weird time. I was kind of like, a little down, it's kind of like lonely and sad. Um, was having some girl trouble at the time. I'm fine now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like, I kind of like or not mimicked, but I drew inspiration from a lot of like the stuff that I watched when I was like, a lot of stuff on YouTube that I watched when I was a kid. So
hmm
like Ryan Higa and like Smosh and stuff, and kind of made this sort of like short film that I made some acting friends of mine. Um, yeah, and it was a
What's
lot
it
of
called?
fun. It's called Hot Girlophobia. Yeah, it's sort of a very absurdist kind of film. It's a comedy, so
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I caught parts of it where something like you can't seem to function when there's a hot girl around or something like that. Was
yeah,
that the
that's
theme of it?
pretty much.
All right, Tobias, what is your favorite tech
My
and
favorite
why?
tech. Okay, my favorite tech right now is this app um that you use on Pro Tools. If you've heard of that audio interface, it's been around forever. Um,
Yeah.
it's an app called Clarity VX, and essentially what the app does, or what the plugin does, is it gets rid of like background noise in
Nice.
your shot. And I I found out about that app through like necessity because I've like filmed all this stuff, and like the background audio was just so horrible and obvious. I'm like, oh, this is like almost unsalvageable. It was actually an interview with this like neuroscientist that I managed to like run into. It was for a YouTube video,
Yeah.
and um it it was completely like unfathomable that I ran into this guy because I was doing a video on him at the same time. But when I did the interview afterwards, I
I saw
watched the
that.
clip. Yeah,
What's his name?
Andrew Huberman.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now was that in L.A.?
that was. I just took a
Okay.
trip down there, and I was like making a video about him that week, and then I went to the gym, Gold's Gym, where
Yeah.
like every celebrity works out at, and I managed to run into him, even though
That's awesome.
he lives in San Francisco, I think. It's like Stanford. Got those two names mixed up. But for some reason, he was chilling in L.A. and I somehow ran into him. But and that video is also on my YouTube channel. I put a lot of effort into that one. Um, um, Basically, to kind of bring it back on topic, um, I needed a plugin to get rid of all of the noise in the background because it was really bad. Um, and I found Clarity VX. I think it's like $38, but it was like
For Pro
I
Tools.
yeah yeah for Pro Tools.
Yeah.
Sorry, that um that plugin is really awesome. I used it in the short film I made as well, and it was just really handy. Yeah, it kind of makes things salvageable, like audio clips with
Nice.
like a little bit of background noise salvageable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How can people find you?
Find me on Instagram. Find me on YouTube. Um, I'd
And we'll
say
link
those
all
are the
those.
main ones. Yeah, I mean, I have a
Okay.
Snapchat and some other things, but like,
And then we'll link it in the notes and everyone. So if there's a role that you want Tobias to be in or audition for, or you want to work with them, now you know how to find him. Thank you, Tobias. Thank you
thank you
so
so
much for
much.
being on the Downy
Thank you,
Cut.
Joe.
I hope your throat feels better, and
Thank
we look
you.
forward to seeing more stuff. Thank you for listening to the Downy Cut. I appreciate you joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed the episode, drop a comment with your thoughts and share questions you think I should be asking the guests. Your feedback helps shape the podcast. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.